Let's go like this.
You can set it up so you can look at his face instead of the phone.
Yeah.
There's some rather profound symbolism at the veil of the temple that I think would be very helpful if members of the church understood what the symbolism of that is.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of our temple workers know a lot about the clothes and how to care for them, but they don't. Anyway, they're not quite as good about understanding things. So I don't want to say things I shouldn't say, but I'll just try to do the best I can.
Yeah, just say what you need. I don't care.
The symbolism at the Father's embrace, you know, those 5 keys or 5
Mm-hmm.
touch points. And when you put your foot next to God, who's representing you,
Mm-hmm.
that's symbolic of walking with someone, being in their shoes. And that's what you've been doing with Candace. You just haven't realized. And when you put your knee to another knee, that means you pray with them and for them. And when you put your breast to your breast, you're having heart-to-heart communication with that child.
Mm-hmm.
And when you put your hand to back, you're supporting them, and you have Candace in every way. Financially, emotionally, socially, spiritually, every way you know how. And when you do those first 4, when you put your mouth to their ear, they're most likely to listen. No guarantees. And that is how you bring people into the presence of God. You literally pull them through the veil.
Mm-hmm.
What does it say? Enter into the presence of the Lord.
Yeah.
That's how it's done.
Mm-hmm.
You've been doing all this, but you may not have just recognized it. And to know is to be empowered, and you have no reason to feel like you've done everything you can.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, that's how to have a good marriage. That's how to raise your children. That's how to fellowship anybody in a ward.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's pretty profound stuff.
Yeah, I do.
I told that to McDonald. He says, I have never considered that. But I like it. I'm going to use it.
That's good.
Now, one comment you made last night about, I didn't respond to it, but the washing and anointing ceremony is another. I like that 4-step process. That's what you do.
I wish I would have videotaped that, you talking last night about that.
Now, let me say just, the first thing you do when a new child is born is you wash him off with water when he comes out of the womb.
Yeah.
Then you put lotion or oil, in this case, on him to keep him chapping. And then you put clothes on him, and then you give him a name, a new name in this case. We're trying to become a new creature in Christ, and all names are simply substitutes because you're not yet a Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And that is very good as far as it goes. But even that would be very useful for the members to know, I think.
Yeah.
Because it's powerful. The Egyptians called this the opening of the mouth ceremony.
Hmm.
The Masons had more of a secular approach. And of course, LDS call it the washing and anointing. I think I like 1 John better because it tells you specifically what to do to be born again, to be regenerated, to become a little Christ. But anyway, I don't think you should beat yourself up. And you may have to do this with Candace and who knows else. Certainly as long as she's under your roof.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe longer. That's all you can do.
Yeah, it's true, isn't it?
So anyway, I didn't want you. I thought that might help, and I think knowing what you already been doing, and you have already been doing, you may have made a mistake or two along the way, but you've already been doing those things,
Yeah, it's true.
and that's part and parcel of the religion.
Yeah.
You shouldn't feel you've done everything you can. You've been the best parents I know.
Yeah.
So
Thanks, Dad.
still you don't like the outcome and all that. But so many families not too happy with their kids. I happen to be one that is,
Yeah.
but it's kind of rare.
I was hearing about all your friends and their kids. Like, wow.
We know we have
Yeah.
magnificent children.
Yeah, we
You
do.
really do.
We've never doubted that.
No.
Just worry
But
about
they have their free agencies.
some of their
Like the
choices.
GA came to speak to us. The hardest thing for me and my wife is to allow our children their free agency. They're adults.
Yeah.
Gosh, that's so true.
Yeah.
I don't think you realize it till they are adults. And you're all, what are you doing?
Yeah, so whatever that's worth.
That's good, Dad. Thanks for thinking of us.
Well, you were pretty torn up yesterday morning.
I was having a hard time.
I think it's weird, but a parent's worst fear, maybe, from our circle, is that your child stops believing in Christ.
I know, and how does that happen?
I don't know how that happens.
Well, you know how that goes. Until they're 13, they're 50-50 influenced by you and peers, and then after that it goes way up on the peers. Depends who they marry, who they run into.
Well, I like how you said who they marry makes a
Oh,
huge difference.
It is everything.
Yeah.
And my grandmother used to call it marrying good blood.
It's true.
Well, you got some. Yeah.
Oh, we love our kids. It's just, you worry about their choices, and maybe we always will.
Oh, I'm amazed how. You think you got all this time to fall in love, but it can happen in a moment.
Look at what's happened with Allie lately.
Yeah, with Allie and this Hunter.
And you wouldn't mind them being together in 3 or 4 years.
He's
Yeah.
darling.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
they're darling together.
But I knew on the second date, your mother was probably the one,
Yeah.
for me at least. She didn't know that, but I thought I did.
When did you know?
Pretty early on.
Yeah, it doesn't take so long.
No, it doesn't. And if it clicks,
Especially
it
when
clicks.
you're clicking and you're compatible.
Yeah.
So it's very important who you date and who you don't date. And all that. Let's just hope that.
One of the things I'm really proud of Allie for is, she said to me, about a week ago, she said to me, I look at some of the other boys that I've, kind of maybe thought I loved or been interested in. She mentioned Adam, and she mentioned, what's his name is on Boyle, who's on a mission.
Yeah.
And she said, I realize now that what I really loved was more the idea, not the person. But with Hunter, he seems like the real deal.
Well,
Yeah.
that's a mature perspective.
Yeah,
For it.
She's pretty wise.
and I said, look, this is so great that you've got this perspective now, that you see the world so differently. And I said, that's why people date, because they're trying to figure out,
So they
what
can
am I compatible
so
with?
they can evaluate
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
experiences.
Comparison and contrast. And
Yeah.
yeah.
That's true. I just think, and I know maybe, I just think if people aren't going to church every Sunday, it's harder to remember these things if it's not a weekly thing for most people.
Well,
That worries
I've told
me.
you this before. You get these people come home from missions and they never crack open the scriptures again.
Yeah. Or anyone, if you're not, I feel like.
And so weeds begin to grow between you and God. And pretty soon you think, well, I don't need him.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't, you don't need him. He says, I would give you an abundant life. And there's an inner joy, and they even become alive in you, and they have just enough pride, they're not willing to take a step in the dark and believe the spotlight's going to follow, but it will.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't put your big toe in the water. You got to jump in the pool. That's the way he works. He doesn't play games.
Yeah.
He really doesn't. I learned this in jail. But you show that much, he'll be there.
Yeah.
He walks the halls and the prisons and the jails of this world. He really does. And
But you got to have your whole self in for that long. You're right. You can't put your
well,
toe
and
in.
these inmates are. I mean, they've been counseling since they were grade school, junior high, high school, psychologists, psychiatrists, parents. It's only when they get rock bottom and the parent says, I can't do this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And they're sitting in that little 4x8 cell and they think, I'm driven to Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah. I need someone else. I can't do
I
that.
can't do it. Nobody's going to help me. And they're right. And that's not all bad.
No, it's not.
And they get really down. The challenge is, I think we said yesterday, is that they've got 5 fires of habits that they build up.
Yeah.
You can see it in the juvenile detention centers.
Mm-hmm.
You and I might have 1 or 2. They got 5 or 6.
It's hard to
And
get
so they
past.
mean well, but they're so habituated they get out and can't quite do it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I told this inmate. It's right at the end of the Incomparable Jesus book. And we'd really worked with him over about 9 months. He had slices here and slices here on both arms. And he was born to a mother in a foster home. And it's like 7 kids, and they were all from different fathers. And he'd ran away from home, ran away, He had a rough childhood, and he spent most of his life in a lockup facility.
Mm-hmm.
Here he is, 38. Find him a job as a short order cook. We put out, we thought were most of his fires, and he finally says, I think I can do this for the first time in a long time. Went out, 3 months later he's back in.
Oh.
He didn't look me up. He says, I have failed me, I failed you, I failed God, and I just can't face you. And I learned something from my boss. I looked at him, I put my arm around him, I says, we'll start over again.
Mm-hmm.
He wept.
Yeah.
And I told him, I says, the nice thing about God, you don't have to win the gold, silver, or bronze medal to get in. You don't have to be the first million across the finish line, but you do have to finish.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do, even if you're crawling on your hands and knees in the dirt, he will say, good and enter into the rest, my good and faithful servant. And it's a persistent thing. And people get it. I used to take these inmates to juvenile detention. They'd say things repeatedly like the following. I wish I'd listened to my parents. I wish I wouldn't have had violent behavior. Chosen. I wish I'd have gone to church. I wish I'd have read the scriptures. I wish I'd have paid attention in school. They always say those
Really?
things. Always.
Interesting.
And you hope the juvies are listening, but, you know, they're teenagers.
Yeah, we'll still figure it out.
So what's on the agenda today?
Thanks, Dad, for that. I think we're planning. Are you up for going to the lake? What are you feeling?
I think so.